Hi there, Ram owners. Today on your 2019 Ram 1500 Classic, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Westin's Sure-Grip running boards. It has a nice bright anodized aluminum that really accents the running board, and I just really like the shape, size, and fit because it just feels like a factory running board. I like the accents here with the moldings on the sides. It helps kind of just mold into the body of the vehicle. And on top we've got a black rubberized mat. It's got a little cushion to it and definitely seems like you're going to get good grip on it. It's got a textured type of surface on it, and that rubber just feels like it's really going to grip good. The channels down inside of it, if there's any moisture that happens to be there, that moisture can go down in the channels, so when you put your foot on there, you can dig in to the rubber to be able to get in and out skid free. It has a 6-inch wide step, so whether it's you or the kids getting in and out, it should be easy. I'm 6.5 feet tall nearly with a size 13 shoe, and you can see I got plenty of surface area on my feet to be able to get in and out. And I do like how sturdy they feel. Getting in and out, the truck bounces up and down before you really get any movement out of the running board. And this is going to be a quick and easy upgrade that you can do on your truck right at home in your driveway. It comes included with brackets that are custom designed for your Ram, so that way they're going to mount right up, and it comes with all the hardware you're going to need to get those installed. It even comes with an Allen wrench so you can utilize the tools so you don't have to worry about anything special that you're going to need. Why don't you follow along with me in the shop where we can get these installed together. We're going to have one for each side that comes included with our kit. We'll begin our installation underneath by finding the weld nuts or holes in the frame where we're going to be attaching. We'll begin our installation underneath the vehicle on the driver's side and the front by locating the bracket holes or weld nuts where we're going to be putting for our running boards. There are 2 weld nuts right here at the front of the vehicle, and if we go rearward from here, you're going to see similar holes, except that we do not have weld nuts in the holes here towards the center or in the sets of holes here in the rear. Depending on your trim package, you may or may not have weld nuts there. If you have weld nuts in all these locations, you can skip this next step, but if you are missing the weld nuts like we are, we're going to be installing weld nuts. And they're not really weld nuts, they are a crushed nut that's going to just slide in. Our weld nuts have a hex and it fits right in the hex hole there. So we're just going to push it in like that. Then we're going to take the M8 bolts that come in our kit, we're going to go ahead and put a washer over it. And now what we want to do is take the bracket. All of our brackets have a hole in the center, and that hole in the center is not used for mounting. This hole in the center is used for installing these crushed nuts. So we're just going to line that up just like that. We're then going to take the M8 bolt and insert it into the nut. Go ahead and tighten it down. And we want to make sure that you're pressing inward while doing this. And from here, we're just going to tighten it down with our 13mm socket. We just want to make sure we're keeping that pressure in so the nut has no chance of coming out when we're tightening it down. This is going to crush the nut, so it's going to be permanently installed inside your vehicle now, so that way it's going to act just like a weld nut would. And once it gets nice and tight like that, we can go ahead and loosen it up. And we can go ahead and remove the bolt now. Make things a little faster, we're just going to use the gun. And we're going to repeat this same process for the other hole over here and any other location that we're missing weld nuts. We're also going to do this on the other side of the vehicle in these holes. Now that we got all the weld nuts installed, we can start installing our brackets. They all install exactly the same with the same hardware, but they do have slightly different shapes. One of the things you'll want to note is that the portion here where our running board is going to sit on top of, this angle is always going to be angled towards the front of the vehicle. Your front bracket is going to have a small slit off the corner, while your center bracket is not going to have that little cut. The rear bracket is going to look kind of like the center one, but the difference here is that the top portion faces towards the rear while this faces towards the front. So we can go ahead and start installing these now. We're just going to start with the front and then work our way back. We're going to place a lock washer on our M8 bolt, followed by a flat washer. We'll hold our bracket up, lining up the slotted holes with our weld nuts, and we're just going to start it in there. We're then going to use the exact same hardware setup for the other hole. And we want to go ahead and leave these loose for now because we do need to be able to adjust them, slide them around and maneuver them to get everything installed here. So we're just going to get those started. Then we're going to take the smaller M6 bolts, and these get the button head with the Allen. You do get an included Allen wrench with them, so you can tighten these down. We're going to put a flat washer on it. We're then going to line up our bracket with the holes in our rocker panel. If you do not have holes in your rocker panel, you'll want to drill them out with a 1/4-inch drill bit. So just slide that through, and then on the opposite side we'll secure it with a flange nut. Again, we're going to be leaving these loose, so I'm just going to put it down hand tight just to keep it in place. Then we're going to repeat that same procedure with this one here. And now that we have this bracket loosely installed, we're just going to loosely install the middle and the rear brackets using the same hardware. Here at the middle, again, we're just doing the same thing. This time, if you had to install those crushed nuts, you're just going to be threading into those instead of weld nuts. Just depends on if your vehicle had the weld nuts or not. Now that we've got the last one loosely installed on there, we can go ahead and grab our running board and we're going to get it set into place. Now we're just going to take our running board and we're just going to set it down, kind of get it lined up in a relative location of where we want it so we know where to put our hardware. Then we can take the little weather stripping seal that it has, and we're going to slide it in the channel here on the inside. So this is the side that's going to be closest to your vehicle. We want the weather strip to be pointing, which is going to be up once it's in the upright position. So this is the top. We're going to have this pointing towards the top, and this just pokes down in the channel there. It's got to line up the little end, and once you've got it lined up, it's just going to push right down on there. It takes a bit to get it started. It is a little bit stiff, but once you get it past the starting point, it slides in pretty easy from there. And you can see here, once we finally got it past that starting point, it does slide on pretty easy. Just likes to get hung up right there at the beginning. And now that we've got it slid on, we're just going to roughly center it. We can adjust it later. Now we want to put in our T-bolts here that slide into the channels. There's going to be one here on the outside and one on the inside. And they just slide in from either side. So we're going to try and line them up with our brackets. That's why we've got it set down below it, just to get the general location. We're going to set up the middle first because they have to go from the sides. And then we can do the outsides once you've got your two middle bolts and their general location. We can now just take the running board and we're going to flip it over, and then we're going to set it into position. We're going to try and line up those T-bolts with the holes in our brackets. On the bottom of each of these, we're going to place a flat washer followed by a nylon locking nut. And again, we're just going to be loosely installing the hardware here. Once all the hardware has been installed, then we can go back and tighten everything down. This is just going to ensure everything's going to line up properly and fit the way we want it to. Now you just want to try and line it up where you want it into position, left and right. Everything's loose so we can slide it around as we need to. Once you've got it about where you want it, then we can go back and start tightening down the hardware. We're going to tighten down the brackets first, and then we'll come back and tighten down our board. We'll tighten these down with a 13mm socket for the larger bolts that we put in. Once you've got those tightened down, we can go back and tighten down the smaller bolts. You do have an included Allen wrench, so you can get those snug down. If the nut wants to spin on you, you can hold it with a 10mm wrench. Or me personally, I found it was easier to hold the bolt with the included Allen key and then tighten down the nuts with a wrench. Now that we get the brackets fully tightened, we can tighten down our running board. This is where you can choose how far in or out you want to put it, because it is slotted here, and also forward and backward. Just double check those, and once you've got it where you want it, just go and tighten these down. We're going to use a 13mm socket to do this. You don't want to get too crazy tightening these down. We are going to torque them in a later step. We can then go back and torque all of our hardware to the specifications found in our instructions. With our driver's side fully installed, we can repeat those same procedures over here on our passenger side to get this running board installed. And that completes our installation of Westin's Sure-Grip running boards with bright anodized aluminum on our 2019 Ram 1500 Classic.